I do videos and other things.
I understand. Okay. But when you talk, the way you're talking to
I
us,
talk like
facing
this.
us, yes, correct. So I
No,
think
no,
that
I
is
talk
okay.
like this. No
Okay.
problem.
Okay. But you'll have to adjust the height a little. I think, the background is being covered just a little bit if you can adjust your chair's height.
Height to cover the background higher, like this,
A little
or lower,
lower, lower, lower.
lower. Okay,
Yes.
that's
This
fine.
is still,
This
yeah,
is
that's okay. I hope you're comfortable, Mr. Ahmed.
yeah, it's okay, fine, no problem. This is my studio
Okay.
actually. I record I recorded more than 1,000 videos here,
Great,
so
great,
that's
great.
why I'm comfortable here. Okay,
Okay, sure.
just I have one thing in case that presentation I tried to
We
change,
have
but I
it.
couldn't
We have it in our deck. So
because
our
actually
team,
7 slides are not excessive for this
I
time
understand.
slot.
I get
So I
it.
made them three. Is that okay? Three?
No problem. We have it in our deck. So we will not give you the control. We'll try to put it from here. We'll share it from our end itself so that you can
Okay.
go through the three of the slides.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Okay. Fine.
Just waiting for Cherry because Cherry is the entire,
Yeah.
he has to drive the entire thing.
When will be actually starting?
7 p.m. UAE time, which is like 6 back in KSA, would be the
Okay.
exact time. We're just waiting for Cherry.
Hi everyone. Can everyone turn on their cameras? We'd just like to check the view.
I tried to reframe it. I think this is better other than the whole disk. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear, okay? Okay. Just I'm checking mic, camera, everything is fine.
Miss Rosanna has joined. Team, can you please check if she can be promoted to the panelist?
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good evening there.
Good
How's everybody?
afternoon.
All doing well.
Good. Ahmed, you are brave with the suit. I have all these lights here and it's so hot right now.
Hi, Shadi,
How's
how are
everybody
you?
feeling? I'm well, and yourself?
Yeah, it's good. Great.
Good, good, good.
Miss Rosanna, we have shared your background image in the group in case you're not able to change it from. Yes,
Oh,
perfect. Okay.
perfect.
I think everybody has the background now.
Yes.
You might have to adjust the height of your chair, Miss Rosanna, a little bit. Mr. Zakaria also. Yes, all okay.
Okay. Want us to be a little lower? Let me.
Just for confirmation, Shadi, I changed my slides to 3 slides because of duration. So is that what we have right now?
That's fine. I gave everyone, let me see. You changed it to 3 slides? Okay. I have
7 before, actually.
let me see. Was it changed on the original? Did you see the document?
No, actually, I sent it today. I don't know whether it's considered or
Yes,
not.
so
I don't. Yeah.
sorry, we are not changing from the original slides, Jerry, but
Okay.
when Mr. Ahmed is due to speak, we will upload his slide. We'll control it from the backend. The
Okay. So
team
you
is
will
there
have all
to
of that.
support. Yes, we have
Okay.
all that.
All right, because I am not aware of that. So
No, you don't have to do anything.
okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Just a kind request that once the session starts, please do not close your videos because then the spotlight goes away from the panelists. And we'll start exactly at 7 p.m. GMT plus 4, 6 p.m. for GMT plus 2.
I didn't hear that request. You said please don't do something, but I didn't hear what the something was.
Yes, please do not turn off your camera because the spotlight goes away. And we shall be beginning in the next 6 minutes. It's 6:54 p.m. UAE time. 7
Right.
p.m. we can begin.
Perfect. All right. 1 second. Miss Miriam. Oh gosh, let me help. Give me 1 second. Oh dear. I'm back. Okay. Why is it so hot today? Let me turn this.
Just a reminder, maybe we need to put our phones on silent in case we are on the mic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do not disturb. It's probably better. All right. Great show, everyone. All the best.
Yes, so hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I see that, good evening, everyone. I see that we have almost 155 attendees who have joined. We'll give them another 2 to 3 minutes for rest of the participants also. And then we begin with today's webinar event. Okay, so it's 7:03 UAE time. A very warm welcome once again to everybody who has made our time and have decided to join the webinar activity. I am Raisa from Lincoln University of Business and Management and its associates. We are a UK recognized institution where we are proudly in partnership with York St. John University in the UK and another university from Scotland, which is University of the West of Scotland, proudly hosting 6,000 plus learners across GCC and the Middle East. Today, we have Ms. Zina, Ms. Shireen, Dr. Tahani, Cherry, who will be the moderator, Ms. Rosanna, Mr. Zakaria, Mr. Ahmed Mamdou, and Mr. Nafa, not the last. So, Cherry, over to you to take the event successfully. I'm wishing you all the best.
Well, hello, everyone that's here. I want to say thank you to Raisa and also to Lincoln U. You guys have put on a great presentation today. And if you're watching at home, wherever you may be in the world, you're in for a treat today because you have a panel of resident experts in a space that is sometimes overlooked when it comes to projects, yet is extremely essential to the success and the completion on time, scope, and schedule of your projects. So as we move, we're going to talk about a few things today. And one of the things I want to do is in every high stakes environment, there's a time when the plan no longer applies. Something happens that was unexpected, something that you didn't think about or consider has happened, or a stakeholder that you didn't consider has a vote in your plan, and things have to change. And I personally remember being in multiple situations where we prepared for everything, and it changed in real time. All of a sudden, the information was incomplete, the pressure was high, the stakes were even higher, and the consequences of failure or delay were extremely significant. In that moment, we're not relying on the plan anymore. We're relying on one thing, and that's leadership. And the reality of modern project management is that is not the exception, that is more so the rule. In that, I want to go and talk about a few things. It's not about having a perfect plan. It's more about making effective decisions when the environment is unclear, where you can align people when priorities shift, how to get them back in alignment, and also maintaining trust among the multiple stakeholders with opposing views and considerations and things they're concerned about. And you're going to do this when the pressure is rising. And that is what we're here to explore today, when uncertainty becomes the project. At this time, I want to introduce this phenomenal panel. You've heard their names, but let me go into it a little bit. It's nice to know who you're dealing with, but let's go and talk about them and give you a little bit more about them. So first up is going to be Dr. Tahani Ashkar. Dr. Tahani Ashkar is a strategy and human capital expert with 2 decades of experience leading large-scale government transformation programs. She specializes in project and program leadership in complex, high uncertainty environments and has led multi-billion real initiatives, working closely with senior decision makers to navigate ambiguity. Her expertise makes her perspective especially relevant in today's discussion. Thank you, Dr. Tahani. Zakaria Abu Masood is actually a strategic leader and technology expert with more than 17 years of experience in project management, solutions delivery, and organizational leadership, with certifications including PMP, MBA, MSP, ITIL. He has led major transformations across the health, education, infrastructure sectors, including cloud migrations and data center modernization. Thank you for being here today. Then we have Zaina Fayumi. Zaina is a corporate trainer and executive coach specialized in leadership development, communication skills, and high-performance workplace culture. She has extensive experience helping leaders and teams strengthen communication performance and workplace culture across the GCC. Welcome. Next, we have Nafa Ben Hadej. Nafa is the co-founder and CEO of Suluk.ai, a behavioral artificial intelligence consultancy in Saudi Arabia, and an internationally experienced leader in behavioral science. His background spans advisory work within the World Bank and the Saudi Center of Government, as well as senior roles in behavioral science and risk in UK's Financial Conducting Authority and NatWest Bank. Welcome, and thank you for being here today. Next, we have Ahmed Mamdou. Ahmed is a multidisciplinary projects manager, engineering leader, and a content creator with more than 26 years of experience in engineering and design management, including 24 years in Saudi Arabia. A PMP, executive MBA, and a DBA, he is known for driving clarity, efficiency, and strong results in complex projects, with a growing focus on technology, automation, and AI-enabled improvements in engineering and construction. In his words, if you're not growing, you're falling behind. Welcome. Then we have Rosanna Albanawi. Rosanna is an expert in human relations, leadership, and adult education, with a strong background in professional training, coaching, and facilitation. Certified in both Dare to Lead and Coactive Leadership programs, she is recognized for helping individuals grow in leadership, personal development, and relational effectiveness. Rosanna, thank you for being here today. Then we have Shireen Williams. Shireen is an organizational and leadership expert who drives culture transformation and executive performance through human-centered strategy. She is also the creator of the Kindness Quotient, KQ, a leadership framework that positions kindness as a strategic driver of trust and long-term value. And then you have me. I'm going to be speaking a lot today. So my name is Chedi Matthews. I'm an expert in human relations, leadership, and adult education. I'm an executive coach and leadership strategist. And right now, I'm an international keynote speaker, and I do many other things as well. I am here today to facilitate and drive this journey along so we can get through this and you can learn a few things. And I'm going to ask you, in all that we focus on today, whether it's on the macro level or the individual level, focus on where you fit in this framework. What can you do at whatever level you are in to facilitate, to learn, to implement some of the things you're going to hear today? And I thank you. And with that, panelists, are you ready? Wonderful, wonderful. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through, and I'm going to go in segments. We're going to first go from large scale to small scale, starting with global systems on the macro level. We're then going to proceed into the international organizational section, your organization size. But then we're going to break it down to the team section. And with all that, what else is left? The individual project manager, you. So let's get started. Now you know what we're going to talk about, and here we go. So we're discussing program management as a process. We're discussing project leadership in a world where uncertainty is the environment. Because of the diversity in this room, in this panel, from the students to the experienced professionals, we have designed this session to both executive level and immediately practical. In other words, no matter where you are as a student or an executive, you'll find something in this that's going to be extremely valuable. So how about we do this? Let's save the theory for the classroom and let's focus on application at all levels of an organization. And we're going to move right from global complexity all the way down to, as I said earlier, the individual. So let's begin at the highest level. At this time, we're going to hear from three of our panelists, Dr. Tahani, Dr. Zakaria, and Abu Masood, and Zaina Fayumi. So Dr. Tahani, first question is for you. Many large programs don't start with clarity. They start with pressure. Dr. Tahani, how do you lead a project when urgency is high, but the scope, budget, and approvals are still undefined?
Thank you, Shadi, for this enthusiastic introduction and start of our session. And I hope I keep that momentum happening. And this is actually what's happening if I'm going to talk about what's happening in Saudi Arabia to start with. And I think this is just a global phenomenon, not only in Saudi Arabia, but many government initiatives or transformation comes with that type of pressure, with a strong ask to deliver quickly and immediately when things are not very clear. And we in the kingdom started experiencing this since 2015, 2016, when the vision started forming, the Saudi Vision 2030 started forming. And I remember back then the ask was to most government and semi-government entities was basically dream, provide what or mention what is it that you're looking for, sky is the limit, and different organizations started pouring their aspirations and things that they want to achieve to be able to contribute to the vision. So the vision was very demanding. However, there was a huge deal of unclarity and uncertainty of what will be approved, how will we plan for it, what will the government agree on, what is the changes in the regulatory system are going to look like. And the trick back then, and it continued, I think, and this is what many of us working in the government and semi-government or consulting firms started learning how to do, is to work with that uncertainty, to realize that the uncertainty is not related to the project itself, rather than you are not managing the uncertainty in the project. We are navigating and we are delivering and we are planning with realizing that there is some level of uncertainty, and we need to work around that uncertainty by creating clarity gradually and modifying and assessing and revisiting our work and revisiting our plans as we go on. And also the PMI method an institution also recommends that in its methodology, which you plan and roles in phases, and once you complete, you revisit and you enhance and you move forward. And I just want to bring some little examples that maybe most of us can relate to, where sometimes when we want to work on a task, we start by saying, I need to fix my desk first. I need every paper to be in place. I will place my laptop, bring my coffee, etc. And when everything is done and you're about to start, you wasted a couple of hours just making it look right and ready for you to go when you are not really. But if you started right away, you could have saved yourself a couple of important element, which is the time element that is very important when you're managing projects. So working with uncertainty is the default setting nowadays, and people need to realize that they are not alone doing that. This is the norm nowadays, the normal condition, and we need to accommodate and be flexible to start and modify as we go.
Understood. Wonderful. Thank you for that answer. And I'm going to dig in a little deeper. In periods of uncertainty and stalled progress, teams can lose motivation and direction. How do strong project leaders keep their teams aligned, accountable, psychologically engaged when there's really no direction or forward path?
Yeah, so this is a true challenge because in most government transformation programs, the approval cycle is very long. And from submitting an initial plan or a high-level strategy and waiting for approvals for this policy or regulation or plan to be approved, there is long waiting periods, and teams can lose momentum and they can lose interest. And this requires high level of leadership intelligence. You need to make the team feel safe, that they are secure, that they are working for a certain purpose. And this time actually is a great time. Usually when we're planning, as I said, you do it on a high level to start with, but when you have that room of time where you can revisit and enhance and go into a greater level of detail, so you can utilize that time with the team for just anchor them on the purpose of the project or of the program. Keep that always at يعني in front of your eye. And then once that is established, that belief in that project, you can use that time to further detail, to develop communication plans, to develop stakeholder engagement plans, to detail further, to secure other things, to work on parallel things at the same time. So, so if I'm going to say it in short, the team needs to be focused on the overall objective. One, two, they need to feel safe that this delay will not harm their position or their situation in any means, and then really invest in that time to perfect whatever has been done in a rush of need to deliver. And also, it's a very good time to develop expertise, team expertise in particular areas relevant to that project. So it's more mastery, it's more detailing, and this would keep the team engaged, keep the momentum happening, not divert away from the core of the project itself or the program.
Wow. You said something that made me just I gotta go on. I gotta go into another question now. So you start talking about experts, which made me think of stakeholders that have different priorities. In a multi-stakeholder environment, misalignment is almost guaranteed. Somebody wants this, somebody else wants that, and they want them equally, and they both need those things, and they're diametrically opposed. So uncertainty and misalignment is almost guaranteed. Is alignment something you build or something you enforce? And how should you project leaders, with stakeholders who delay progress under the guise of caution?
Yeah.
Delay tactics.
So yes, alignment, that's a tricky area, but it's a very important area, and you will need to do both. You will need to build that alignment and enforce it as well. It's not always a pink world out there. People have different agendas, different risks, different institutions have different priorities. So to serve any program that is on a national level, that is by default requiring multiple stakeholders. You need to bring these stakeholders early on in the game, and you will need to explain the purpose of the program or the objective, and you will need to have the buy-in as much as you can from those different stakeholders, so that everyone understands their purpose and their influence and their role and the limitation or the expansion of the role for that program to materialize. And with that, you will need to establish a very strong governance structure, not only to organize, but also to distribute decision making and to organize the different roles of different stakeholders. This sounds easily said or easier said than done, but I believe I'm from the school of that says the sooner you engage people, the more you communicate with them, different stakeholders, once they see the bigger picture that they are serving, and then it's a matter of building that trust and organized collaboration among those different stakeholders.
Thank you, Dr. Tahani. I appreciate those insightful answers. Now, Zakaria, I have a few questions for you as well. And in large multi-country projects across Asia, let's talk about Asia, across Asia, how do you proactively engage the critical path when dependencies span from different regulatory, cultural, and operational environments? It's a mixed bag.
It's a very important question, Shadi. Thank you very much.
You're
Basically, the critical path is the fruit of all the planning activities that will let you deliver the project on time. If I would say a very short answer, I would say like, okay, have the activities on the critical path, see the due date for them, monitor them carefully. But like everyone when I start planning feels overwhelmed, thinks that the plan is like constant thing that I should not change. It's something that I should just obey to. But even myself, I used to know that. I used to think that way. But then it's something that you need to revisit daily. It's like the lens you look at the health of the project into it. And you enhance as you go. Like, how can you make the activities more effective? How can you make the cost more efficient? How can you look into these things more and more and more? Because it's not just the time management, because it lets you see how people are relating to each other, how the interdependencies are healthy, how the people communication, how the people engagement, how is the alignment going on. And there where you can find an opportunities to improve the schedule, the cost, everything in the project you can see from that lens. So I see that critical path is the most important thing. If you master it, you would master every single activity in the project.
And I'm going to presume it's safer to do that early in the process than later.
I agree. I agree. It's something that you do every day. You know, in our weekly meetings, we always have a slide only for the critical path activities. We
Beautiful.
just observe them. We put the date that we need them earlier than hitting the critical path, and then we put the latest date that we can have, which is we don't want to reach there. So we don't want the project to get even slightly delayed. It's something important to let people pay attention to it. When you communicate it and tell them these activities every day, I'm telling you that this activities is not like compromisable. You cannot delay them. Tell me what do you want because it's normal. You know, in the project activities, there is a terminology called progressively elaborated. You would know more as you go with the project. And when you know more, you find out that there is lots of details was not there. Like it's normal. Like as you mentioned, the uncertainty is always there, but you need to keep the important things in front of everyone to make sure that there is things that we cannot delay even for a very slight few days.
I like that. The fact that you put it on your slides shows everybody how much of a priority it is from the very beginning. That is communicated organizationally that this is important. But here's a follow-on question for you. What are the earliest warning signs that a project is losing control across regions or stakeholders?
That's a very important thing because it happens. You know, I remember back in 2018, it was like the first project we initiated. It was the first in the Middle East to have all the radiologists and all the radiology equipment on the cloud and let the consultant everywhere to they can consult, they can review, they can give opinion, and even there was a second opinion AI at that time to give a consultation. Now it's like an old news, but it was very important to bring everyone on the table. So I believe in one thing that every stakeholders or people like to be heard, seen, and understood. So if everyone feels heard, seen, and understood, and you see what I'm really looking for, and you understand me, then I wouldn't be happier I wouldn't be more happier to support you, to put every effort in the project just because you see me, you understand the purpose that I have. And
Yes.
this kind of communication, engagement, negotiation, it all will be aligned to one objective that we all negotiate to a win-win situation to deliver a successful project with every country and every member of the project.
Well, that sounds easy, but I
Yes.
bet it's easier said than done. And with that, I have a follow-on question. How do you adapt communication strategies to ensure alignment across different cultures, different operational environments, different regulatory environments? How do you do that?
See, for me, communication, if you ask me what's the most important factor about communication, I would say one thing. It's about like effective communication, and the only thing is negotiation for me, like the most
Ah,
important thing. Because you would be able to negotiate in a win-win situation, as I mentioned. You would be able to let people understand that you need to be like transparent. We have a certain objective that we all want this project to be successful. There's multiple companies, multiple teams. Everyone has a different story, a second gain. You just need to tell them that I understand all that. Here, we are here for only one objective, just to achieve. And then you understand that negotiation is not about the force, is not about win-lose, is not about cornering people. It's about letting everyone deliver the best they can because we have all one objective. So that would make it more interesting, will let people more engaged. It sounds easier said than done, but when people always get reminded that this is the important thing, this is our objective, we don't want to lose focus there, and you get into the trap of looking at other second gains or these things, then things I believe would move in the right direction.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. That was actually wonderful, Zakaria. But now to follow up with that, Zain and Fayomi, I have some questions for you. And Zain, so Saudi Arabia is going through some of the largest and most complex projects in the world under Vision 2030. I'm going to be honest with you. I'd never heard of a giga project until I came to the kingdom. A giga what? And blew my mind. I mean, just to think of the size, the vastness of these projects. What capabilities must project managers develop to succeed in this environment compared to traditional project environments?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, Shadi. And I'd like to start by welcoming everyone and thank you, Dr. Zakaria and Dr. Tahani, for the laying the ground for me. And thank you, Shadi, for the introduction. That's a beautiful question, Shadi. And before I go into capabilities, in fact, I'd like to draw you an image. I'd like to show you how it actually looks like. See, delivering projects in Saudi Arabia is unlike anywhere else in the world. We're talking about $1.3 trillion worth of real estate and infrastructure. Allow me to repeat the number again, $1.3 trillion worth of real estate and infrastructure. That's under the Vision 2030. And that tells you the scale of whatever actually is happening. And these, by the way, are not traditional projects. We're talking about new cities. We're talking about new destinations. We're talking about new industries. And Deloitte actually calls these nation-building projects. So when I talk about capabilities now, as like a project manager is no longer a coordinator, he's not only there to deliver like output, he is part of this nation transformation. That itself tells us the scale and the speed. Dr. Tahani and Dr. Zakaria mentioned that before. But here's the element, just to give you a full picture. We live in what we call, Chadi, a VUCA world. A world that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And it started with the 21st century. And the examples are a lot. I'm going to mention a couple of them just to give you a whole picture before I talk about the capabilities of the project manager. If you remember COVID, and I'm sure we all do, back at that time, everything was volatile. We didn't know actually the speed of things, how they are moving fast. And there was a lot of uncertainty. We didn't actually know what is it, this COVID? What does it actually like do? And we didn't know anything about it. We started to develop understanding as we moved on. And there was a lot of complexity. Data coming from the public sector, data coming from the private sector. And we had a lot of ambiguity. We didn't know where we're going. People said it's a couple of weeks. People said it's a couple of months. It ended a couple of years. We didn't know. That's an example of the world we live in. Another example would be the AI. Think of AI 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it wasn't really there. Like few people had it. Now it's on your, open your WhatsApp, you have your AI with you, right? And it still has a lot of uncertainty when it comes to data and the privacy and all that, and a lot of complexity, I tell you that. And definitely a lot of ambiguity. People call the AI now like the black box of the future. One day we're gonna realize what does it actually do. Think about the seminar we're doing right now. We were supposed to be in person. We're supposed to meet in Jeddah or in Riyadh or in other cities, but here we are doing it in person. That shows you the volatility of the things that we live in, the complexity, the uncertainty, the ambiguity. Now, if you ask Lincoln University, like, are you planning to do this webinar? Like a couple of months back, they were like, no, we're doing it in person, but they were able to manage. That's it. They were able to change. Because, facing these uncertainties, you have two options. Either you're going to survive or you're going to thrive. And the people who are actually managing and moving forward are the people who are going to thrive. Now, it is fair now to talk about the capabilities. If you take all these into consideration, it's like, all right, I have a VUCA world that we live in and things are actually moving so fast. They're sometimes so uncertain. I was like, okay, and I have the vast, the scale of whatever projects we're talking about. I want to turn it to the audience, actually, and I want to ask them, guys, what do you think are the capabilities that we actually need as project manager? Let's make it very practical. I'd like to hear from them. What do you think the capabilities that we're actually looking for right now? We'll wait a couple of seconds. Maybe people would actually, the audience would like to let us know, what do you think are the capabilities needed? Emotional intelligence, beautiful, yes. Resilience, that's a beautiful one, Asma. Thank you, Mariam. What do you think, given the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity? Yes, to be focused. That's a very well agile. That's a beautiful one. And I think Dr. Tahani mentioned something about agility, empathy, a beautiful one, agile, adaptability. You guys are on point. Patience, definitely patience is needed.
Awesome.
Focus, yes, yes, definitely. Being
It's a
more
smart crowd.
human. Wow, integrity, courage. You guys are on point. Yes, sprint,
Great.
technical understanding, flexibility, novelty. Wow, you that's audience on fire, Shadi.
I
This
love
side,
this.
that's very true. That's very true. That's it. You guys are on definite confidence. Beautiful one, a beautiful one, and decision making. This is something we're gonna be talking about. Clear communication. See, Dr. Tahani and Dr. Zakaria mentioned communication as an asset to this project management. Yes. So PMI mentioned that, let's say the capabilities needed. We talk about communication, as you guys mentioned. We talk about strategic thinking. You guys are definitely on point, and they talked about making sure that stakeholder governance, ability to communicate, the agility. See, I need a project manager who's going to be able to lead through the ambiguity, to maintain momentum. And that's a beautiful thing. And as John Maxwell says, momentum is the leader's best friend. Maintain
Yes.
momentum and influence without authority. So many people would say, but a project manager might not have a say in everything. Well, it is all going down to influence. As John Maxwell says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So if you tell me about capabilities, there is not only one. The audience have mentioned a bunch, and I definitely tell you they are all relevant in addition to whatever. But one of the most important ones, and I tell you that, it is how to make sure you prioritize. Because when the change is going to happen, and I guarantee you from now, change is the only constant thing in life, and change will happen. It is very important to know what to prioritize. So this is, if I leave you with one thing, is like, make sure you prioritize.
I'm chuckling because I had multiple things I wanted to ask you, and every question that kept on coming up, you covered it. I was like, oh, I got another question, and you covered it again. So thank you so much for that comprehensive explanation of my one question that went into additional questions and answered so many things, because I think you showed people why this is so important. So one takeaway I have for this section, we've spoken from 3 different experts in this space. And there's a common thread where everyone's saying it's communication, of course, but I'm looking at something a little different. Uncertainty is not disruption anymore. We can no longer say, this is strange, unprecedented. I didn't know this was going to happen. That is the environment. That is the norm now. Uncertainty is the norm. So you have to be prepared to be all the things you wrote down in the Q&A, all the comments. You have to be prepared to be agile, have integrity, communicate, be resilient. All the things you said are so true. And we're going to move on now to the next section. So we've talked about the macro level on the large scale, but let's dial it down. You don't work in a multinational, you work in a company. So let's talk about things on a company level. So here we are. Nafa, this one's for you. Alignment is one of the most underestimated challenges in a project delivery. It really is. So how do leaders ensure true alignment on project goals, not just agreements in meetings, but real, sincere, actual alignment and agreement? How does that work?
Thank you very much, Shadi. Going straight after Zaina isn't fair, so I guess everyone has a high reference point now. So I need to do my best here. But let's maybe start with a quick exercise that I think most people here can practice in their own organization. So if you take a team meeting on a certain project, and straight after the meeting, you ask everyone who was present in the meeting to take a piece of paper and write down what the next steps are in their understanding, and what are the key goals of the project, and what are the key assumptions underneath the project, I can assure you that you will get a lot of differing answers. And this is completely normal. So because everyone involved in the project will have their own backgrounds in terms of what they've seen before, in terms of how they assess the probabilities of certain events happening, whether it's failure or success. They have already a certain way of thinking given their educational background. So diversity is always going to be there, and it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So what I always recommend doing is actually defining the terms. And it sounds very basic, but sometimes we can be talking about the same construct, but we think of it completely differently. So kind of like going one level underneath the words. And that also brings us to maybe stepping away from goals and maybe more so on outcomes. So focusing on outcomes. What do we want to see on the ground change? And that will be the basis of the discussion, because that can be measurable, and we can link that to any data that we need to collect to verify if something is there or is not there, to see if something is changed or hasn't changed. And then we can use that to fuel the alignment, right? And I guess maybe to conclude on this one, I also always recommend like defining the prioritization criteria and the decision-making process. So basically, what are the key criteria and processes that will allow us to get there, and then we can debate them until we reach an alignment that these are the right steps to go ahead. And maybe I can tease a little bit on experimentation. Maybe we can cover this in a bit more details later. So at the same time, I always recommend stepping away from the deterministic nature of always wanting to have one solution to every problem. So we can have multiple solutions and we can try them out. So we need to start embracing experimentation more often in our organizations as well.
I love that. I love that. So you mentioned a few things in there. And defining the terms. I have seen situations where people are using the same word and it means two different things. I'll give you an example, the word requirement. One organization, requirement meant it is set in stone. This is exactly what we're doing. No question, it has been approved. For another organization, it means we're just considering it. That's your wish list. When I learned the difference, I started calling stakeholders to make sure, do you understand what this word means? Because you're saying this thing like you're getting it, and they're saying this thing like it's a wish list. You're not getting it. So I said, you're saying, and everyone's saying yes in the room. They're saying yes to different things. That is so important. When you said we're defining the terms, I chuckled because I was like, one of those things that I didn't learn in a book, I learned in real time. And it's better to learn it beforehand, like as you've said it, than to learn it in a situation where someone doesn't get the phone call and loses millions of dollars of resources, support, or a part of a project. So thank you for that. But we're not done. I've got another question for you. So I'm going to dig in a little deeper now. So how can teams understand with the current stakes how to effectively navigate uncertainty in a world where there could be, like you said this, there's many ways to do this, but dig in a little deeper. There's many ways to get the same solution, but how? Why? What does that look like?
Exactly. That's a great point, because sometimes we end up in a situation where it's very hard to narrow down the scope of possibilities to a single one, because they are all valid and they're all interesting. And then what we do is that we let the field give us the answer. So what we do is we run an experiment where we have 4 different solutions, but we experiment with them in a contained setting. So it's kind of like a pilot within the project. So to say, okay, we have these 3 ideas, let's put them to the test. We can even create online simulations to mimic the real world. Obviously, it won't be a perfect match, but at least it will give us an understanding of whether the direction we're taking is valid or not. And that will be the basis, again, to reach the new alignment on which one to scale. But now it's evidence-based, and it's actually also taking into account the voices of many people involved, which are all valid at the end of the day. And we can structure these as, for example, like having a diagnosis stage, having an experimentation and design stage, and then having a scaling stage at the end, whereby we take the winner and we scale it. Yeah.
Got it. I love that. So in my MBA mind, that sounds like what we'd call a pre-mortem, or instead of a post-mortem after the fact, let's find out what could happen beforehand. And I love that concept because it can save you so much time, so many days of less heartache, so much less yelling when you get it wrong. If you can kind of predict what could happen, what can go right, what could go wrong, and have a mitigation or a way to exploit and maximize the things that are going right. So thank you so much for that. So I kind of mentioned the word pre-mortem, but when teams do that, a pre or post-mortem in a project, how can they do that? What are some good ways, some tips or tricks to put this? Because for some people, they'd be like, why are we doing this? Why are we wasting time? So why a pre or post-mortem?
100%. That's an excellent question. So maybe to again define the terms, right? So the post-mortem is usually so it's borrowed from the medical field. So usually what it is like when someone dies, we want to understand the causes of the death to actually understand what happened, and maybe we can prevent them in the future for other people. But when it comes to the pre-mortem, it's kind of like trying to reverse engineer the process. So instead of waiting for the project, in this case, to die, and then understand why it was actually a failure, we try to get together and think of everything that could go wrong in the execution or the planning and across all the phases of the project, right? But then it becomes a free space where people can be super critical about everyone's ideas, and then we can put all of those in a basket and then again try to come up with mitigation plans, whether we can change something now or maybe when something might arise in the future, we have that plan already in the drawer. We can go ahead and pull that strategy right away. Obviously, we can also adapt it later on. But that's the philosophy. And having used this in a couple of projects in the past, I can definitely assure you that it brings up a lot of voices that would have like maybe gone silent if we didn't provide that space for everyone to kind of like be as critical as possible, because that's the essence of it. And it can save a lot of resources and prevent the failure of many projects. So yeah, it's something I recommend doing in every project if possible.
I love it. What makes me chuckle is when you think about that, there's points to consider. Zaina, you're talking about the VUCA reality and the VUCA environment. You've just been given tools to help you navigate that space. Those are real world tools. A pre and post-mortem can actually help slow down and actually be ready for some of that VUCA environment with things that when you don't know what you don't know. Nafa, thank you so much. That was so enlightening, and I'm actually super excited about that. But I'm going to keep moving on. And Ahmed, Mamdouh, it's your turn. Are you ready for me? I've got two questions for you. So I hope you got a pen. I know you're a complex man, so I wanted to ask you two questions at once, if I can. Is that okay?
Yes,
and I'm going to let you run
great.
with it. Sure. So project managers often need to make critical decisions before having all the data. And you understand this. So how do you approach decision-making when the information is complete? But in addition to that, it's one question, in times of uncertainty, communication becomes essential, extremely critical. What communication strategies help you maintain confidence and clarity in uncertainty? A and B.
Great.
All yours, sir.
Thanks. Thanks, Shadi, for those questions. And thanks, Mr. Nafa, for your session. It was amazing. Thanks for everybody. Actually, for the first question, I am in project management for a long time, and we deal with this uncertainty all the time. I remember back in 2017 when I decided to start my own project, which was starting YouTube channel and share my knowledge with audience, because I don't want what I learned over the years to pass away with me after some time. So what has been done, I collected everything I need to learn before I start my YouTube channel and content creation. And guess what? I wanted to learn around 257 things before I become successful and just gain what I need. I realized it's impossible for anyone to start something when he knows everything. And the same thing we apply in all our projects. So it's very clear and obvious to everyone that you will never be able to have everything clear before you start your project. So what I do actually, and what I learned over the years, that I follow 4 steps, simple steps. First, I identify what is critical and what is not, because not everything is critical in the project. This is normal for everyone. And mostly 20% of the inputs may drive 80% of decisions, and it's well-known concept for everybody. So now what actually we are trying to do, that faster decisions can help us to move forward with the current information and inputs. And then we can go for the second, that what is the risk of not doing that? Is it high or low? Most of the projects, actually, the risk will be high. So we have to move forward with what we have right now. Third one, actually, what exactly is the input? Do I really have it currently with the team, or I can get it from AI, from my expertise, what I know? So This thing will help me to decide how to move forward. And at the end of the day, in short, I would say I don't chase perfect information, I chase sufficient clarity, measure risk, and timely action. And I believe that it is what any leader should do in uncertain environment. This is for the first question.
Wow.
Actually, I thought I'll present after the questions. So okay, anyways, I'll just for the presentation, I'll go through just quickly after the second question, if you allow me.
Sounds
Second,
good.
about the communication uncertainty, which is really something very critical for everybody. And as Mr. Nafa said, if you ask the project team to write something about their project, everybody will write something different, which is really, I liked it pretty much. So the rule of project manager is to gather the whole team under the same umbrella, and this will be mostly depending on his clarity of the communication. If the team find that you are not clear as a leader and you are not able to communicate things properly, they will start filling the gaps based on their assumptions, and they will assume things which are not really happening in the project. At the end of the day, you will be the first loser in this project because you will not drive your team towards its success, which you already decided to. So I usually do it through personal meetings, discussions. I prefer calls. Other than very long meetings, using big words during the meeting, everybody will feel sleepy in the meeting. This is not really something that I like to do. Another thing, I use now technology to communicate what I need through Trello, Notion, and other tools. And this I do also with my team. One of the most important thing actually that I noticed during the reality actually of the work, mostly you are lacking many of the information or inputs you need for the project because you don't have the full actually the time to dig deeper and understand. So if you are able to plan and efficiently become more productive and plan your energy and time together, you will get more time to be able to manage your projects and get the inputs. And with the era of AI, you can get anything. Maybe it's not certain, but it will be a good starting point for you to move forward towards your success.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Anything else to
Shadi.
add? Do you have anything else you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, actually, just as a clarity of maybe in the presentation, just quicks, if I have few minutes or maybe 2-3 minutes, if we go
Sure.
back to the presentation. Yeah, actually, maybe you can go to the next slide. Okay. With the AI, actually, I use it very heavily, but not for everything. I'm not it's not replacing us, but it's helping us. I use it in project engineering, and this helped me to do a lot of things. Even previously, we were rendering one building, maybe 2-3 options. It might take 10 days, 15 days. With the AI tools, I can do it in maybe 10-15 minutes that have many options to do it. In productivity, it's something crazy. Now I reach to an application that it can help me to plan my tasks with only my voice. This it was one of my dreams before, and really it helped me. While you are driving, you might remember something. While you are sitting somewhere, you are not able to access your phone. With your watch, you can say what you need to do, and it will go directly to Notion tasks and help you to do that. With the content creation, I can say that you can get full content creation, means scripting for the videos in few minutes, which previously it was taking from me maybe days. So next slide, please. Last thing. As overall, if you are able to decide faster, communicate better, create real impact in your world, really, you will make a big difference, not only in your project, with your community and the people you are sharing your knowledge with. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I wish you all the best.
Ahmed, that was amazing. And I would tell you, there's a few things you said that really, well, there's a whole bunch of stuff I wrote down. However, a few things that really blew my mind, and it really kind of aligns with giga projects. You can do what would usually take you 10 days in about 10 minutes. You can run through many iterations of the same thing to see what works. So you can actually find out, you can increase the efficiency of your planning. You can define the terms because you can actually mean, well, if you mean this is what it shows you. You can run these iterations. You can almost do micro agile projects in the middle of a project because you can run these iterations virtually. The speed and the time, the speed of information is blown up. So if you use it as a resource, it's going to benefit the project because you can make those mistakes in a pre-post-mortem kind of way before actually making those project mistakes in the real actual project. So it saves a lot of time. And I think you're going to help your organizations to thrive if they can afford and have the infrastructure to have an AI system that supports project management. You can actually help the organization run a lot better, smoother, and probably save money and mitigate many of the risks that may cost you some time or schedule imbalances. So thank you for that.
Great.
And
You're welcome. Thank you, Shadi.
when I think about this, we talked about the organizational level. And one thing that I know is structure is how leaders create movement inside uncertainty. When there's chaos and panic, people need to have a process because everyone's in panic. Even if it's organizational panic, people still get into a panic frenzy mode and we do all sorts of things. If we have a system, a way that we've already rehearsed or prepared for, understand if this happens, we may have to do this, that, and that ahead of time when your nerves are calm and everyone's less stressed, you can actually function and you can actually navigate those stressful moments. So thank you for that. That was actually extremely rich. And this is beautiful. We're actually on time, which is a miracle. So thank you for everyone's professionalism and just adhering to the time schedule. Thank you, and thank you. So now we've gone through the macro level, we've gone through the departmental level, organizational level, and now we're going to go into the team or the department level. This is where most of you are. Let's be real. If you're a project manager, you're probably focused on your team, your folks, your family, your crew. You know what I'm talking about. It's us against them. So in this construct, I want to talk to Rosanna and Shireen about team dynamics. And let's go into it. Rosanna, how are you?
Hi, Shadi. I'm well, and you?
I am outstanding. I know for a fact, I know you from many other places and know that you're a phenom when it comes to this space. So I got a question for you. Are you ready for me?
Yes, please.
All right. So, projects ultimately succeed through relationships. I mean, let's be real. If you can call somebody, you can probably move things along quicker than mailing a letter to somebody. And you understand this. What does relational leadership look like in practice in complex project environments where you don't know the person next door? Maybe it's somebody from another country. How does that work in a complex environment?
I love the question. It's really to connect with the other person, right? So you want to remember the human behind the role. We're coming into this project. It's very complex. Sometimes you find yourself working with 4 different organizations. You're not briefed. New faces show up. And you start to get to know these people. You smile and you start to connect because maybe their role on the next stage changes, or maybe they pivot to something else. So keeping the connection as humans really helps us trust and helps start on a good note. I recall we recently had a project as a coach, and I arrived. We started with our names, right? You get to know the other person's name, and a little bit of a check-in that really helps set the tone and start to build together. Because sometimes you find yourself in that moment and just need to be with the factors available.
Yes. I love that. I love that. And I like how you started on a micro level because we're humans. And sometimes it's just, have you ever thought about when you were kids and you have your best friend? How is that your best friend? Well, they gave me a piece of candy. They played with me. They patted me on the back.
Exactly.
Micro things, the micro things that have significant impact on us. We're humans, and human connection is significant. And I think the name, start with the name, that's who I am. You see me. And I think that's extremely strong. You're not an entity, you're not the manager of or the department head. You are a human being. And starting with that name means you see that person. And somebody said that earlier. People want to be, what was it? If I get this right, heard, seen, and understood. And you start that with knowing somebody's name. So
Exactly.
with that, I've got another question for you. What behaviors would you say, Rosanna, immediately build trust within a team or at the start of a project?
So I love what Ahmed today earlier said about clarity, being very clear, being open, having an open body language, looking at people, eye contact, very basic human relation skills. Getting the names right. Sometimes even my name in the Arabic culture, if someone asks me, is it Rosanna? Am I saying it right? Immediately, I build trust with this person because I feel like they care. So really getting to know, who is there, and reading the room. So reading the space is really important. What's the overall feeling? What's the overall emotion in the space? Is it that I am feeling this, or everyone here feels delayed, or, it's very warm in the room, So kind of reading the group dynamics is also very important. Speaking to that as well as a leader or anyone in the room, when you speak to what's happening, you can build trust, and people can come to you, they can ask you, and they feel safe to do that. I'm sure also Shireen after me will talk about the safety part more, but it's really important that people feel that they can ask you, they can communicate with you, even if they don't know you or they didn't know who you were 5 minutes ago. Oh, Shadi, you're on mute. Oh, Shadi, you're on mute. Still on
Total
mute.
apologies. I was
Oh,
saying,
you're back.
I'll go back and say it again. So I was like, yeah, but guess what? I'm an engineer. I don't care about all that warm and fuzzy stuff. I don't want to get to know my people. All I want is them to do their jobs. I've got 15 days to build this widget. I want it built. I want it done properly. I don't want any mistakes. And I don't care about knowing who they are. What do you do with that person? Because they exist.
Well, yeah, that's you reminded me. So one of the programs I facilitate is Daring Leadership. It's based on Brené Brown's research. I really recommend everyone to learn about her work. And one of the core skills in daring leadership is rumbling with vulnerability. So to know when to be courageous, when to, and definitely when you come, if you have an engineering background, this doesn't really make sense. You're asking me to be vulnerable, but we're not talking about systemic vulnerability. No one wants to have, a plane, get, their IT system vulnerable. No, we're talking about the human vulnerability that actually decreases systemic vulnerability. So based on the research, if you speak to your, co-pilot or speak to someone in the healthcare system and say, you know what, I'm not sure about the treatment plan. I'm not sure the surgery is going well. I'm not sure, you're actually avoiding systemic vulnerability. And that's really what we need to focus on. And it happens with role modeling. It happens by being the first person to actually embody this. We're not saying, disclosing, there's myths of vulnerability. We get into that as well. But it's really about getting it right, getting it with the right impact, and moving from that. And it can be as simple as sharing your boundaries or saying, what's okay in the space and what's not okay, holding people accountable, showing that asking for help is not to be judged, assuming generous assumptions. If you assume that the other person is coming from a good place, others will trust you because they see that you are kind to others. So it really happens, as we say with parenting, what you do, we believe, not what you say, we believe. So that's also another very important aspect.
Wonderful. So there are people in the room who've just heard what you've said, and it may be a light bulb for them. Like, wow, I didn't know that before. I didn't understand how that was actually important to my project. So, Rosanna, I've got a question for you now. How do you repair? How do you fix or reestablish trust when it's been damaged during the project? What do you do now? What do they do? For the people out there who are like, I didn't get that. How do they fix it?
Go back to being relational. So really being relational it's underestimated. Checking in with the person, circling back and saying, you know what, yesterday when this was happening, I really meant this. My intention was that. I came with this, hijacked nervous system.
Wow.
I was, delayed. My flight got delayed for 6 hours. It was not what was happening. Just a few words really like helps build repair. And again, if you would like to learn more about this, there's also John Gottman who has 40 years of research on trust. So Brené calls them marble jars. So every time you do an act like that, even when you repair a relationship, people put marbles in that jar and they trust you. They go back to you, they remember you. And as you said, Shadi, earlier, it's really those small moments, you know. I still remember moments when someone even offered me, you know, a cup of coffee when I entered a workspace for the first time and I was lost and I didn't know, you know, or they, you know, asked, you know, they came out of their way and they, you know, led you to the right office. You know, those small moments matter, and it's back to being relational with the other person, not transactional. In today's fast world, it's so much easier to the autopilot becomes being transactional, but we are
Yes.
really humans, and reminding ourselves of that is really important.
Wow, I love that. Thank you. That was actually really poignant because I know there are many people who've said, will explicitly say, I don't care about that kind of stuff, not realizing the impact it can have, the $1 million impact it can have on their projects, the $1 billion impact it can have on the giga projects. This can have real world implications because you didn't care about someone at the human level, because you didn't care about their name, or you didn't care to be slightly vulnerable, i.e., human. Human.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I love that. I
Um,
love that. I love that.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for that. That was actually really insightful. And I think it's important that people realize that at the team level, your team has to trust you. You're not the only one doing the
Yes.
work. I have been in places where I've had two kinds of bosses. One where it's 4:30, I was walking out the door, 29:30, door slams, I'm gone. And I had those bosses that I stayed and worked until the job was done. Two different outcomes because I was treated differently by those two different bosses.
Yes,
One got
exactly.
exactly what they demanded of me, and the other one got exactly what they needed to get the mission done. Two different outcomes on the
Yeah,
human level. So it's a real thing.
exactly.
Yes, it's a
It's
real
really
thing.
important for us to talk about it, to have conversations about it, and to train ourselves. I mean, we're all human. We might have, you know, grown up in an environment that didn't have this embodied or modeled, or we didn't train, you know, learn psychology as we became leaders. But I think it's really important to upskill and get trained on this, on human
Yes,
relation skills for everyone. Um, so yeah, it reminded me also of another project. I sent a driver to get name tags because we just didn't know how to help each other because the name barrier was there. And I would just, you know, you have 100 people, new faces. So the name tag
yeah,
again really helps because you're like, oh, Chadi, Zakaria, you know, Rosanna, you know, and so just simple things can make a very big difference in the space.
understood. Thank you so much for that, Rosanna. Shireen
Thank you.
Williams. Shireen. The whole KQ thing makes me chuckle because you created a whole framework of something that is so needed. So I want to get into that. But before I dive into that, people are like, what are you talking about, Shadi? We'll get into that later. But I do have some questions for you, Shireen. Thank you for your time and thank you for being here. In an uncertain environment, teams may hesitate to speak up when there's a problem. How can leaders build psychological safety so risks are surfaced earlier rather than hidden?
Thank you, Cherry, and hello to everybody. And I just want to say to Rosanna, totally resonate with you. A lot of what I have to say is just a repetition, actually, of what you've said. And yes, psychological safety is one of, I would call it, um, the phrases commonly used but misunderstood. And it's such an important question because when psychological safety is not talked about, okay, and so when we think about a best project leader that we have worked with, and you think about the words that come to your mind of this project manager or any type of leader that you've actually worked with, what actually comes to your mind? It's not technical, it's not transactional, it's actually human words that come to your mind. So, going back to the kindness quotient perspective, psychological safety is actually not a soft concept. It's a leadership capability that determines whether truth suffices early or whether it stays hidden. So, in terms of how we demonstrate this and how we practice it, is actually very important because it's something that might not come natural, but it's questions that we can ask. And when I think about the psychological safety, I think about a coaching culture because these are words and questions and opportunities to talk to our teams. So as you mentioned, we went from macro to micro, and we've had so many insights. These are little phrases or little words that we can bring up in meetings that gives us instant safety. So when we're having conversations, I've in my slides put in 3 sort of practical ways that we can bring in psychological safety. And when we work with leaders, we invite them to give direction. That's what we want, right? We're working in a project, we want direction, we want to know what we're doing. And so instead of saying words that here's what we're doing, we sort of use different phrases and say, well, what are we actually missing here, team? What are the risks that you see? We invite information, and that information is data. Because when we're having conversations with teams, we're getting information, we're getting data. This data informs us. So, in my practical tip to when, in terms of leaders respond well to bad news. Now, how many leaders do you know respond well to bad news? Just putting that thought out there. So we want to have leaders that respond well, not well. And so the moment that someone raises a risk, it's actually a defining moment. Think about the giga projects that you are on, right? And you like, team, I need information. I need to know what you see as a risk. When somebody actually does that, automatically, just automatically, the rest of the team start chiming in. Because why? They understand that they are in a safe space to say something. And when you are in with a bad leader, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about some of my bad leaders while I'm saying this.
We all
But
have them.
yep. Let's and the phrase that I've got there is thank you. Let's look at this together. It's hard. It's hard for people to say that, but we can train ourselves to say that. We can take a pause because one of the leadership nudges, which is widely used in organization, is called practice the pause. Practice the pause is 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in and then respond. And you can do that. That's not hard to do. And then, of course, there's leaders that make it safe to challenge and not just agree. And I know many of our speakers have said that it's okay not to know everything. And as a leader, sometimes you're expected to know everything. It's okay to say, again, practice the pause. Let me find out. Let's get clear on this. Let's align on this. It's effective communication. That's what it boils down to. So I've worked with many organizations where I've come into the storming stage of teams, where many people are obviously forming teams, and I'm seeing many heads shaking, forming teams, and then you've got this amazing team. They've got great skills, and now they're storming. They're storming because they don't understand where perspectives are coming from. And I love 2 agile sort of frameworks that I use, that I go into organizations and I use, and one of them is called a retrospective. And I know, Nafa, you mentioned the pre and the post-mortems. So a retrospective is during. So when we are in an agile environment and we are doing working on an MVP and we've got so many sprints, and what we do with most of our teams actually is in the second week of your sprint. So basically maybe you have an 8-week sprint, for example. I'm getting really technical here because I'm going straight to the person that's working in the team. We have something called a retrospective, and a retrospective is simple. Basically, what's working, what's not working, what are the emerging risks, and celebrating success as well as recognizing each other. Because what that is doing, it's creating honest conversations. And I use sticky notes when I do this because some people don't feel I would say, confident enough to say it out loud. Some people want to write it out. And I think that creates, again, a psychological safe space for people to say what they need to say.
Yes.
So, to be honest, what I've done is with the kindness quotient is I've done a research, and part of that's actually part of the doctorate that I'm doing. And in the research that I've done with 6 continents, okay, 6 continents, 21% of people feel fully safe to be authentic at work. That means that people are coming to work with a mask. They are not being themselves. They're not able, like Rosanna says, in terms of vulnerability, able to take away an armor and say, this is who I am, this is how I operate. And 64% of people believe that kindness is a strategic advantage. So there's clear gap between what people know works and what they actually experience. So I think psychological safety in action is not being nice. And again, I don't want to misinterpret the word nice, but what I'm saying is it is a human skill. And a human skill meaning that we can create the right environment for people to have the right conversations. So I think the biggest risk is not what people say, it's what people don't say. Thank you, Chidi.
That was wonderful and that was phenomenal. And it had me sitting here in a sobering moment. A few things, just the journey from pre-mortem to a retrospective to a post-mortem is always keeping you thinking about these things. So you're always in a thinking state, which as a leader, as a manager, as a project manager, is going to keep you ahead of a lot of challenges in VUCA world that may come up. But also what was more sobering for me was that in this audience right now, 1 out of every 5 people that are here are putting a mask on, which means the majority of you are struggling at work with this said situation. Yet the majority of you know there is a strategic advantage to be kind. Yet only 1 in 5 people feel that way. That is powerful and that is poignant. And that means there is something here for everybody to glean from, learn from, and grow. If you're not feeling safe, find ways to be safe. Or if you're making people not feel safe, what can you do to now regain that psychological safety and trust within your organization? And especially now that we know, as you said, kindness is a leadership capability. It's not just a nice to have, it's necessary for the success of your programs. So Shireen, thank you so much. That was phenomenal. And if you want to learn more about the kindness quotient, please reach out. And actually, let me say this. If you want to learn more about any of the panelists, there will be a section where you can actually see where they are, learn who they are, find them, follow them on LinkedIn, follow their websites, connect with them. If they can help you in your organizations, reach out to them while you're here, because they can be an asset and they can actually be, if you want to think about it, a success multiplier in your organizations. That's my shameless plug for everyone on the panel, and I'm going to move on. So we've gone through again in this journey, the macro level, down to the organizational level, then to the departmental or team level. And now I get to talk about the individual level. And my section is easy because if you've listened to everybody, all of these things are enacted by individuals, which makes what I've got to do easy. But let's think about it. In high stakes projects, communication breakdowns are evident. What is the root cause of that failure? I could answer that, but let's be honest, everybody's already answered this question. It's communication or the lack thereof. And what is communication? I used to be a communications person. So information systems was my thing and communications was my bailiwick. I had a lot of satellite systems and digital systems. And one thing I would learn is just because you send a message, transmit information, speak, project a message to someone else, doesn't mean you communicated. It just means you said something. If that message isn't understood and processed the way it was meant and the way you intended it, there's been poor communication. And a lot of times as leaders, we think because we said it, because we wrote it, because we pointed a finger and said, this is what we're going to do, everybody understood what we said. And because everybody ran back to their desks to start doing something, we think you know exactly what they meant. And if we don't ask that question, we will never know. We'll never know. And it's something you want to consider. Maybe ask the question, what did I say? Ask them, what do you think I need you to do? And if there's a place where it's safe enough for them to know, you're going to find two things out. Either you're not communicating effectively, or they're misinterpreting what you're saying. Either way, there's a misalignment of information, which is going to cost you time, it's going to cost you money, and it's going to cause risk in your projects. Easy fixes. As the human, what can you do to be a better communicator? What can you do as a leader to make sure you're communicating better? There's a responsibility on both sides. Are you listening to understand, or are you listening to respond? If you already have an answer, you're probably not being very open to the situation. You already have a pre-designed, predestined thing you're going to say. That may be great 80% of the time, maybe even 90% of the time. But the one time you get it wrong, it can lead to catastrophe. And nobody wants that on their watch. Another thing is information hoarding. A few people have talked about this, having information and delaying a project or not sharing a piece of information, either because of fear, control, I don't want to lose the upper hand, whatever it may be, it's leverage. We don't give information. On a project, I would say it's incumbent upon you to ask yourself 3 questions. What do I know? Who needs to know it? And have I told them? Those 3 questions will save you a lot of trouble in many situations, because there's many times we have information, but we don't want to tell the boss to get them upset. Let's talk about some of the ways that it can go wrong. If we think about the incident in Chernobyl in the 80s, Bhopal in India, Fukushima Daiichi in Japan, multiple airplane crashes when they've listened to the reports, it's because somebody knew there was an issue and there was a fear of them raising the alarm to the higher levels. This could be the peril of your project. So when you look at your people, realize your people are assets. They are assets. We don't say human resources, and sometimes we say human capital because we're understanding the value of the human. But let's dig deeper. The human isn't somebody that you just give an input to and they do what you say. You have to understand who that person is. Get to know them. Respect them. They'll respect you because they will go above and beyond for you in the way that only humans can. And if you want that level of excellence from humans, from people, from your colleagues, from your coworkers, from your stakeholders, you've got to see them as people and see the inherent value that they have, which really goes into everything you say. And regardless of whatever level in the structure you're in, whether you're a global, multinational, local, or a single shop, this matters. If you're dealing with people in a project, you have to deal with people as humans so they can maximize their effectiveness in your project. And that's all I'm going to say on the matter. I would urge you all in every section with everything that everybody said to really think about how it applies to me. And you may find out that there's a lot in there that applies to you. And what I'm doing is I'm speeding up this section on purpose because I want to get into the lightning round. And this is for everybody. We're going to go through, ask a whole bunch of questions, and I really am excited for this because I want to actually see how you feel. I've got 2 questions. I'm going to do a quick lightning round. I want to hear your insight from the gut, from the heart. And this is really just a quick take, a hot take. Is everybody ready? Audience, are you ready? Here we go. My first question, crisis moments are going to happen. Crisis is always going to happen. How can leaders communicate when the timelines collapse, expectations shift, or stakeholders panic? What do you do? Zaina, on my screen, you're the first. I'm going to ask you first. Zaina. You're on mute right now, Zaina? In fact, everyone should come off of mute because this is going to be quick. This is a lightning round. It's going to go super fast. Zaina, you're up.
You're asking me what to do in a crisis.
Yes.
Let me tell you
everything you know has gone south.
Yeah. See, John Maxwell says something that I find really interesting. Crisis shows who the leader is. It shows you your true colors. So if you are on a crisis and then everything goes south and you are not able to put things back on track, so you better question your leadership skills from the beginning. This is the moment where you're gonna actually make sure that you are holding everyone together. Now, do you have what it takes? I think everyone mentioned today that, yeah, I might not have all the answers. I might not know where things are going. But at the end of the day, a leader is a reader. He's a reader of trend and he's a reader of people. You already know your people. You have them with you. You have the course, you know exactly where you're going. Your path might change. You might go on different path. Hardly things do end up the way they actually started. So it all goes back to the leader, because as John Maxwell says again, everything rises and falls on leader. Your leadership skills are going to show now. Have your people with you, because a leader who's actually walking alone is someone who's actually taking a walk. But you have your people with you, you are leading them. Trust your gut and make sure that things are going to unfold as you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Zaina. Shireen, you're up next, because on my screen, you're number 2. Same question.
Sure, thank you. And just to reiterate, Zaina, it's definitely down to the leader. I also think that it's extremely important to be as authentic as possible, because people can see through you. People can see when you are saying things that are not true. And I think that is going to build your trust in times of uncertainty. So being clear, talk about facts, be also emotionally available for people, because you are their first point of contact as a leader. And the answers can come from you. And it's okay to say, I don't know. Practice the pause and go and find out information, and just keep the team always up to date, whether it's whatever it might be, whatever the answers might be. Keep the team up to date and be consistent about it as well. Because I notice when there's radio silence, what happens is people come up with their own conclusions, and that creates more anxiety, as well as being calm. I think calm is like one of the currencies of the world that we really, really need right now. So yes, be kind to yourself as well as a leader. Be kind to yourself as well, because you need to show up for many people. Thank you. Sorry, lightning round. Done.
Thank you so much. Dr. Tahani, on my screen, you're next.
Yes, sure.
Same question. You mean to ask the
for
question
same,
again? Oh,
for the same question, of course, this is something that I've faced in multiple times in my career. And what I hear from my team, that they always ask me, how do you keep smiling when everything is collapsing? How do you manage to keep smiling? And I go like, let's really calculate the damage. Usually we magnify the size of what went wrong, and people do panic and they worry about what different stakeholders would do. But let's really calculate it correctly, calculate the damage that actually happened and the impact of that damage, if any. Because at the beginning it sounds horrible, but then once you just break it down and you look at it and you look at mitigation and solutions, it's not as horrible as it at first sounds. And then you just need to keep calm and work on your mitigation or your recovery plan. And I always ask the question in my personal life and in my work life, what's the worst that can happen? And once you just ask this question, what's the worst that can happen, and ask it to myself, and I ask it to my team, and I ask it to my boss, and they go like, okay, now we're reassessing the situation. So this is my answer to this, Chedi.
wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Tahani.
Of course.
Hosanna, you're in the middle of my screen, so you're next. I'm skipping over me because I'm in the middle. I'm next, but Hosanna, you're next.
Okay, so how should leaders communicate when timelines collapse, expectations? So really like in crisis moments, just to, I'm going to reiterate everything that was said by my colleagues, and know what your strengths are and act with that, and allow others to act with their strengths.
Yes.
And I'm recalling like family moments, when someone, needs an ambulance suddenly, so like who holds the capacity to, do what, and allow everyone to act with their strong points. Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Hosanna. Zakaria, you are next on my screen, so you are up, sir.
All right. I cannot agree more with everyone what they have said. And I would say that the most important thing, as Dr. Tahani mentioned, that the emotions of the people, it's like the water. If the water in turbulence, then no one can think clearly, can put the right engagement. Like, for example, as per Gallup assessment, the Gallup organization numbers from people engagement in 2025, There is only 21% of people are engaged, are classified, are engaged people, and 62 are not engaged, and 17 are actively disengaged. And the second thing after emotions is just to ensure that people are engaged, are there to make it happen. So I don't want you to be in that mood of feeling guilt or bad or what's wrong, what's wrong. You just need them to shift gears to be engaged, and we can make this happen. And it takes a lot of effort just to shift the mental set or the mindset to that mood. That will make everything happen.
Wonderful. Zakaria, thank you so much. And next, Ahmed, you are next on my screen, and then Nafa.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Zakaria and Chadi. Actually, as Dr. Tahani said, my team always wondering how you keep smiling while you have all these issues and problems. And all that time, I ask myself one question: what is the worst scenario ever may happen? So at the end of the day, as I read in many books, 99% of the things that I'm worrying about, it never happened. So I have to think from that perspective, just to keep, stay cool, communicate that with my team properly. And also, as everybody said, actually, I elaborate in this, try to be clear to everyone. Don't hide any information. Just let them feel that we are really under trouble and let us work together towards that solution. Most of the time, actually, because if you have a real risk management and you have made a proper plan, mostly you should have that in your dictionary that you can, once you have this problem, what exactly you need to do. If it's not there, then you have to evaluate the current situation, work with your team, get the best technical people and the managerial people with you, and then drive them towards a solution. At the end of the day, trying to just control your nerve and be cool, because at the end of the day, everybody will keep watching you. And if you are so much worrying, they will never be able to think to come out from that situation.
Ooh,
Thank you.
wow, that was golden. Thank you so much. Anafa, you are next.
Thank you, Chidi. I guess number one is take full accountability. So do not be afraid of taking accountability of what happened. At the end of the day, responsible. But also don't be afraid of saying, I need help, right? So whether it's from the people you are directly working with or people who are actually maybe above you in the organization. So just
Yes.
like say it out loud, I need help. There's nothing wrong with that. And maybe finally is tell a story. And I find this very, let's say, helpful when it comes to relaunching the energy. It's like a locker room story. So it's kind of like saying, okay, this is what happened, guys, and there's nothing wrong with this, and let's make sure that whatever happens next works, right? So it's kind of like giving them that space to kind of like reboot the engine, but it's a story. At the end of the day, we are all together in this adventure. What happened. Let's keep the ball rolling. Let's try to improve, right? So yeah, so these are the three takeaways for me.
I love that. These are awesome answers. I'm at the point now, well, what do I add? What do I really add? But one thing I always tell people is bad news does not get better with age. It is not cheese and it is not a vintage car. If you know something that's bad, let people know. And if you're in charge, and we all know this, if you look around, if you're at the mall and there's a bang, the children can look at the parent. Where do people look in crisis? If they're not looking at you, you're probably not the leader. You may be in charge, but you're not the leader. So you have to make sure that your emotions are regulated. So when they're in panic, they can look at you as an emotional reference point. And I've heard a few people say they do that with a smile. They do it with a pause. They breathe. They do things to control their own emotions, which settles the organization. One thing I do in that space is when I'm asking for solutions, is I even I empower the junior people as well to have comments and insight. Now, because that is a safety accelerator. Well, if the new guy can answer the question, well, I can too. All of a sudden, people will start asking all kinds of questions. And this enables people to find solutions in the midst of a problematic situation. Thank you, everyone, for that question. In the respect of time, I'm going to move on to the second question. Are you ready? And it's going to be the same order, if you remember. So this one, Zaina, is going to be for you first. But project managers usually don't have much a formal official authority. You know this. They are in charge of the project, but not the department or the section or the people that are the stakeholders. How can leaders increase their influence without relying on positional power? Zaina.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, and that takes me home, because John Maxwell talks about influence, and he says leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. And when
Yes.
people ask him, um, John Maxwell, like, what do you think the biggest challenge is when it comes to a leader?
Yeah.
And the reporter was actually hoping that John Maxwell's case, like, yeah, leading in circumstances and like the changing and the uncertainty is like leading yourself. The biggest challenge a leader can actually have is to lead himself. In order for you
Yes.
to influence others, you have to know yourself. Who are you?
True.
Like,
True.
what are your strengths? And I think my colleagues mentioned, what are your strengths? What are the areas that you need to work on? Once you are in touch with your emotional state, you know exactly how are you feeling, and you're not hiding that. You're being transparent. And in
Yeah.
order for you to increase your influence, you have to understand yourself first. What is it that I'm feeling right now? What is it like that's hard for me right now? How can I actually let it out? How can I reach out if I need to reach out? And once you do, you'll be able to shine. Like, you'll be people will be able to see through you, because as you mentioned,
Yes.
and I think one of my colleagues mentioned today something related to parenting. People do what people see. At the end of the day, if you want your team to be collected, to be able to actually move forward, well, guess what? You have to do that first. So leading yourself first is where we actually have to start. While my people might think as like, yeah, how do I lead them? It's like, lead yourself first.
All right.
Understand what are your strengths first, and
Thank you.
you need it, you get it from there.
Thank you. Shireen, you're next. If I can ask you to keep it to 45 seconds, lightning round. Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay. Just moving on from actually starting with yourself first, Sena, taking from yourself what you're giving off to the team, creating a space for the team to speak, for the team to talk. So as a project manager, you are the center and you are bringing people towards you, not away from you. And one of the things that you can do, and one of the things that I do, is find out, well, who I'm receiving things from, who am I handing off things to? Get everybody in a room, have a conversation, talk about it, and use the retrospective framework to do that in the most logical, simplest of ways. Thank you.
Nice. Lovely. Dr. Tahani?
Yes, so the influence doesn't necessarily have to come from the leader, though it's a very important trait for the leaders, but you can build a strong network of peers and colleagues, and even if we're dealing with different external stakeholders where everybody is empowered to influence as well if they have a shared vision and a common vision. So basically he or she is splitting that influence and enabling it to become from within. And one other thing, and maybe this is a strategy, that to try to create quick, small wins at the beginning where you can establish that credibility, and then it will roll out as you go on. I don't want to take much of the time for the team, so I'm going to leave room for others to share wonderful ideas as well.
Thank you, Dr. Tahani. Rosanna, you are next, ma'am.
Okay, so I was thinking of previous training groups, and the ones that at least identified as a leader were actually perceived as a leader by friends or teams. So leader, I love the definition by coactive leadership. A leader is someone who is responsible for their world, and responsible here means is able to respond to their world. So whatever the moment is and whatever is needed in the here and now, whoever shows the readiness to respond with that builds their influence with those in that circle.
Wonderful. Thank you. Zakaria, you're up next.
All right. This is a lovely question, actually. I like it very much because it's the answer, I would say, is a byproduct of a long journey where the relationship, it has the trust, it has the disappointment, it has the hard time, but it all goes how the leader react. How do you enable and empower people in the least expected time, and how you support them, how you be there for them, and then that they will give you everything that needed to make the success. So I believe it's a complete chain of actions that you build with time, and then you gain trust, you gain confidence, you gain like so many things that will make this as a beautiful result.
Wonderful. Ahmed, you're next. Thank you for that, Zakaria. Ahmed, you are next.
Yes, thanks,
You're
Zakaria,
welcome.
and thanks, Shadi. Actually, this reminded me with an important thing I learned over the years. If you deal with your team as a human, not commodity, you're gonna gain their trust because it's not a relationship work other than also personal relationship. So all the time I try to connect with my team. I try to be closer to them, find some time to talk about their problems. And as Zaina said, if you lead yourself and become an example that's worth to copy, the team will start following you even without asking them to follow you. So
Yeah.
you will lead the project and they will influence with you all the time without even asking them to do this. Maybe recently I just received a call from a friend of mine. He worked with me 2 years back, and he asked me about something, some tips and tricks about project management, productivity, and other things. I was so happy that one engineer he left our company 2 years back and still remembering me because we have a good connection and still we are in touch. The same thing if you follow in our projects, we will really get a better successful environment. Another thing influencing will be improved. Another last point before I go, that even trying to get their rights in the company, as you get the work done from them, it's really very important and it has a huge weightage in their respect to you and following you as a leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Nafa, you're next.
Thank you, Chedi. Maybe two things. First thing is build a personal brand of being reliable and consistent so that people come to you and people find refuge in you when things get hard. And the second thing is linking people's strengths to a higher purpose. So understanding what people are driven by and then linking their strengths to that so that they feel fulfilled and they understand what they're doing in the larger scope of things. And then people again would come to you because they know that whatever you will give them will feed into what they believe in. But yeah, these are the two things. Thank you.
I love that. And for me, it's if you don't have positional leadership, thank you so much for that, Nafa. But if you don't have positional leadership, then what you can do is find ways to add value where you can add value. Because positional leadership is given to you. You have no power over that, but you do have power over your activity and your attitude. If you meet with stakeholders and people that you don't need anything from and establish relationships then and add value when you need nothing, you have credit with them when you do need something. So add value if you can with them, empower them when you can, get to know them before you need anything from them. And then all of a sudden, when you're in need, when you need someone to listen to you, now they know that you're a person of value and that you care about them because you did it for no reason other than to do it. So just that's my quick point. And I'm going to move on for the sake of time because I'm cutting into our Q&A and I know people have questions. But this whole section, one of the things that you can take away from all that we've said so far is people don't follow plans. They do, but they follow clarity, confidence, and presence. And your plans need to have that in them to ensure that people follow them. And with that, I'm going to go into integration. As we know, integration is a significant part of every project. It's what it's the cornerstone of what we do as project managers. And we've moved from macro systems to organizations, teams, and to the individual leader. But one thing that's common at all of those levels for you to perform is integration management. And we all know this. You all know many PMPs here understand integration management. This means you have to both speak and understand accurately, translate the language of all stakeholders while adhering to the project charter and putting out as many fires caused by the conflicts inherent to the position. You're herding cats. You're balancing multiple priorities at the same time, and you're addressing and prioritizing the concerns of all parties while adhering to the thresholds of scope, budget, and schedule. Scary, right? But guess what? You're uniquely trained to operate and lead in this environment, and many can't. If everyone could, there wouldn't even be a PMP. There wouldn't be a designation as a project manager. It wouldn't be necessary, but it is because it's a particular skill and you have it. But what becomes clear with all of this is projects don't fail because of complexity. The people are smart. They know what they're doing. They fail when leaders cannot create that clarity within that complexity. That is what integration is, and it's an essential element of every project you're going to have. That's my 2 cents on that, and that's my transition into the next session. This is the formal part of the program. We have 20 minutes left for the day, and now it's time for Q&A. If anybody wants to tee up the questions, anybody that wants a question can answer it, feel free. It's all your show. So let's look at some of the questions. Do I have any questions in here? Does anyone have any questions? If you do, please put them in the chat. Here we go. Okay. Ikram says, while data is critical, it is equally important for leaders to apply emotional intelligence, understanding team dynamics, stakeholder sentiments, and cultural nuances. Combining hard data with intuition and empathy fosters balanced decisions that are both rational and human-centered. Is that a question or a comment? Because that sounds more like a comment, which is a great comment, by the way, but not much of a question in there. But here's another one. I do see a question here. Thank you for that, Ikram. That's actually beautiful. Ahmed Rahman Wazir says, what makes a leader encouraging? Who wants to answer that? Anybody want to answer that?
So the question is, if I understand
What?
correctly, Shadi, is how does the leader become encouraging?
Yes, that is the question.
I think one of the basic things is to be the role model by yourself once you establish that authenticity and encourage people. Actually, I've had situations when I had to have a one-to-one discussion with many of my team members where they needed to step out of their comfort zone and dare to take an additional step and feel that they are supported and mistakes are acceptable and that they are going through a learning journey. So calculated risk and backup and support and guidance throughout the process will have the leader become an encouraging leader, if I understand the question correctly, and will help newer team members or newer generations also bloom and be full of themselves as well. I hope this answers this question.
Thank you, Dr. Tahani. I have another question that just popped up. Meham Raza had a question. It said, how can leaders create psychological safety in teams where members are hesitant to speak up due to hierarchy or cultural norms?
Can I take this one?
Please do.
Thank you. I think, the most underrated conversations is a one-on-one conversation. And when you create psychological safety, especially if you need to be in a space with one person, having informal conversations, taking somebody for a coffee, having a little, away from all the pressure, away from all the drama of the project, and just having a human conversation. It's not a transactional conversation, it's a human conversation. What comes out of that is there could be a bottleneck, a decision-making problem. There could be a stress or well-being problem. There could be a lack of clarity of my role and my responsibility. There could be also gaps in leadership alignment. All of these things frustrate people. So having that one-on-one conversation, if you can, will be something to create that psychological safety for yourself.
Wow, that was
you.
beautiful. Thank you so much. Here's a question. Ikra Sawar says, what is the difference between a good leader and a good manager?
Yeah, can I take this?
Please do. Dr. Tahani, I think you're on mute, but please do.
Yeah, that's a hot topic. Yeah, actually, I read recently, a long time back about the leader and manager. Manager actually is the person who can do things right, but leader is doing the right things. So maybe the doctor can make the surgery perfect, but the patient passed away. So sorry about that, but he made it right. But it should not have been done in the first place. So the leader, most of the time, he can have a wider umbrella and means wider, can see the big picture and deal with his team as a, I can say his team as a real leader, guiding them not pushing and managing them. This is the most common, expression about leader and manager. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. I have a question here that I'm going to go to because I actually like this. How does Maheen Zaidi asks, how does micromanagement impact trust in a team? Who wants that? I can take it. I'll take it. So micromanagement means that you are looking at everything that your team does, whether you do or not. What does it explain? What does it display? It displays and says that you do not trust your people. Worse than that, and this is what I used to tell my people, I can do your job. I've done your job. But if I'm doing your job, who's doing mine? In that statement, you see the inherent inefficiency of micromanagement. And micromanagement is just that. It is management and it is not leadership. Because leadership empowers, leadership enables, leadership opens and evaluates, and it's just all the things that make things work better. This management means it's controlled, which means you better be right. You better have all the best ideas. You better have all the best skills. You better have all the best insights, which is probably not true. So micromanagement, if you're doing it, it's not working. I'm just going to say, controversial if it may be, it's not working. Learn how to lead and trust your people. They do the job day in and day out. They got hired to do the job. They probably went to school for it. I think they got it. Go take care of your job. That's what I got. So another question. Oh, here we go. Boglio says, how does the project manager affect its decision on violation when the violator is someone that has connection to the higher ups? Oh, this sounds like a real question. Conflicts of interest, power dynamics. How do you deal with that? Who wants to take that?
Can I take this one?
Please do.
It's a very critical and tricky question, and it's always like falls in like I would say sometimes I used to say like project management sometimes it's like very close to politics where you need your project to success and you don't need to don't see beyond and between the lines and read between the lines and see how is things happening. But the most important thing I would say, like as Shireen mentioned, like being authentic, deliver
Yes.
the right message, says that this is the project objectives, this is what we need to achieve. And some people says that without underestimating others, without underestimating the ideas, without feeling that you're being in a negative emotional mood that, oh, I'm not getting the right or things aren't moving because of this or that. Like
Yeah.
the mindset of a leader is always should be a laser focus on the target. We need to achieve that. It's always negotiable. It's always uncertain. It's always changeable. So maybe you could change the vision. I remember a short story where a CEO of a company that they sell chicken. And they thought, like all the board member, they thought that we had the best quality in the market. And then he said, okay, it's time to go and check this. He put some people monitoring the people buy it, and then they asked them that, why do you buy it? And all the people said it is affordable and available. No one said the best quality. Long story short, he did all the assessment and put a lots of money, and then they are the best quality, but people doesn't know. So here you need to change your constitution and tell people that you are delivering this, and this is what they have done. They start putting in the news that was old that they bought their product in the five-star hotels, and they said like because we are the best qualities we are selling our products here and here. And then like people start, so whether you change your constitution or change people perception, but then you need to
Yes.
be focused on the vision. So thank you.
Wow. Wow, I'm looking at these questions. We have 254 questions and it's been continually going up. I'm not going to get to all the questions, but I do have one last question for this multinational group. This is going to be the final question for the Q&A round because there is no way to get through 256 questions now. And this is from Ikra Sawa. It says, how can a good leader come to know about the cultural differences about his team?
Oh, I'd love to take this one. So another reference that I really recommend is The Culture Map by Erin Meyer. And learning about each culture and how they relate to different aspects such as scheduling, how they build trust, how they communicate, really helps us understand and know where they're coming from. So having conversation around that, and not the other person, because sometimes if silence is considered as powerful in one culture, it might be considered as weaknesses in another. So multicultural organizations that open the stock or have a conversation about it, normalize the differences, and work with the strengths of each culture, and don't make the other person feel wrong.
Yes, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's about all the time we have for Q&A, and that's about all the time we have for this panel. So a few things I wanted to do. I wanted to thank Zaina Fayoumi, Shireen Williams, Dr. Tahani Ashkar, Rosanna Albanawi, Zakaria Abu Masood, Ahmed Mamdou, Nafa Ben Hadej, and all of LUBM's staff and administrators for this outstanding, aperture-opening panel. Thank you so much for your guidance, your insight, your influence, and sharing with the many people around the world that are listening to this. I'm going to end on this. Uncertainty is not the enemy of leadership. It's the proving ground of leadership. This is where you get better. Projects don't succeed because everything goes right. They succeed because leaders know how to respond when things go wrong. And in the end, people don't follow plans. They follow leaders who create clarity, alignment, and trust. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back over to Raisa. Thank you so much for this time. And please, if anything helped you today, use it and implement it and reach out to us, because with 256 questions, I know you have questions. Get everybody's contact information, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you and have an amazing day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all our wonderful speakers. Thanks once again. And of course, our great host, Cherry, you were wonderful. And thank you again once everyone to share such valuable insights at such uncertain times. You see, 256 questions is not less. I know we haven't been able to answer to all of you, but we promise, please write down your questions to digitalmedia@lincoln-edu.ae. We will definitely get you connected to the speakers and get all your questions answered. We will just take 5 more minutes for a feedback, and even we would like to introduce LUBM's programs for those of you who would be interested in project management courses or leadership courses or something which can upskill you here right at the moment and in your near future. So we are here to present you something. Over to you, Mr. Adnan.
First of all, good evening, and it was a lovely session for the past 1.5 hours. Thank you very much, everyone, and amazing 8 speakers. I would say I was listening, even though my camera was off. I must say, I thank all the speakers for delivering such an insightful, practical, and valuable webinar. Each one of you have brought real industry experience and the real solutions for today's professional. A big thank you to all the working professionals as well, who took out time, for the busy schedules, and they join us today. Now, since, myself, Adnan Sheikh, and I am from the acquisition team, and, I work at Lincoln University of Business and Management. We are, we have got a presence in UAE for the past 12 years. We promote UK recognized programs, and it's completely online, completely for the working professionals. Today's job market, it's quite challenging. It's changing faster than ever. So every professional, they look for some kind of qualification to enhance, to empower, to promote, to transform. So for the past 12 years, we have been promoting the program and recruited more than 6,000 students for the universities. Since we have got the direct partnership with the UK universities, which is York St. John University and University of the West of Scotland. Top programs, especially for GCC working professionals, B Honours program. We have got MSc Project Management. We have got MBA programs with different specializations as well. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's slightly slow, a technical one. Sure. So as I was talking about all the three programs, what we promote, from the universities, York St. John University and the UWS, one program, specific program, which is from the UWS campus back in the UK, which is MSc Project Management as well. It's all for the demand in the market. Today when I see the projects which are coming up in UAE, they have got a vision and mission. Even in Saudi, even in Oman and Qatar, every country they need the qualified candidates, and for that the people, they look for flexibility, they look for something which is recognized qualification, they look for something which is flexible and affordable. So we are at a position where we provide our programs to all the professionals who are looking forward to study on a serious mode and then complete the program in a given period of time. I was talking to one of my students. He's a group CEO basically in Dubai. And he said that, I have left my meeting and Adnan, I would like to join the class because I know the value of this program. So I'm a committed person and I'm so focused that, I cannot miss a session. So, this gives me an understanding about the real value of the program. When a working professional, they show their commitment towards the studies. And it's all about the UK, UK qualification. It's always respected. It's globally respected, I would say. So even though there are a lot of students, they have a lot of excuses, even though the current situation and all, but still, we try to support each and every student so that they complete their journey smoothly. It's a streamlined process, basically. Um, so as you can see in the this thing slide, that we have got all the programs available. But yes, one more question where often I hear about the profession. They ask about the scholarships. There are a lot of people, they're asking about the discounts, scholarships, and all. Yes, we do offer some scholarship depending upon the qualified candidates. If they're looking for some kind of merit based or profiles or experience and all, I request each one. I strongly encourage that you should be contacting my team, admissions department. We are happy to support you in terms of the right guidance for the right program, maybe bachelor's, maybe MSc, or an MBA program, and you'll be having the right choice for the UK accredited programs. Right, so can we have the
Thank you,
barcode, please?
Adnan.
Yeah,
Thank you,
most
Adnan.
welcome, most
Yes.
welcome.
Okay, those of you who all are interested to connect with the speakers, you can scan the QR code. Our team has also shared a Linktree handle where you can click on that and you can access all the speakers' profiles. You can connect with them and you can also follow our social media handles. And last but not the least, just a 5-minute quick Google review. What I would ask from the audience, please review us, please share your feedback, and stay tuned for more updates. We will be coming back with the session 2 of the same webinar series.
Wonderful.
Those of you have not typed any question or you still have questions, please feel free to write to us at digitalmedia@lincoln-edu.ae. Our officers, our team members, the speakers will get back to you.
All right.
I think that's okay. Please review us. It's your feedback is genuinely important for keeping us improvised each and every time we come up with a new webinar series. Thank you. Thank you once again. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you, Cherry. Thank you, Adnan. And thank you, LUBM team. We shall stay connected. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone. Take
everyone.
care.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.